What's up everyone? So a few months ago I wanted to learn how to get better at Minecraft Combat Update PvP, which is version 1.9 and up, but I couldn't find any guides online that showed how to fight in this version at a higher skill level. Most guides would just talk about the basic mechanics and stop there. So I loaded up Minecraft 1.16 and began playing on the server PvP Legacy, the same one Dream, Technoblade, and other people use to practice 1.16 combat. I've been playing the server regularly now, and I'll tell you everything I've learned in this tutorial video. I also included voiceovers of different fights with YouTubers who volunteered to duel me, and just other interesting fights in general, to help you understand my actions and thinking. This video is going to have a lot of information in it, so I'm going to put timestamps in the description, but I wouldn't recommend skipping because a lot of the information builds off of previous stuff. Before we get started though, if you're not already subscribed, please do. This is my first real video on this channel, and I plan on making a lot more content in the future, so it would really be appreciated if you showed your support by subscribing. Alright, let's get straight into the PvP tutorial. First things first, make sure you have a good mouse sensitivity set in Minecraft. It should be low enough that you can be accurate with tracking and aiming, but it should be high enough that it is easy to do large, quick movements. In my experience, a lot of people have it way too high because they don't like moving their mouse a lot, and that really costs them with accuracy. Try different sensitivities until you find something that works for you. I can't really give you specific numbers because everyone has a different setup. This is something that you have to experiment with yourself. Also, please get yourself a decent sized mouse pad. Don't use the crappy small one you got from your mother that has the wrist rest. You can get a huge one to put both your mouse and keyboard on for less than $20. Moving on to the keyboard, make sure you have comfortable keybinds that you can quickly press to access items in your hotbar. On screen are my keybinds. I can switch to any of the items on the hotbar quickly without having to use the scroll wheel. You don't have to use these keybinds specifically, just find ones that are comfortable with you. Also, make sure you try to get Minecraft running as smoothly as it can in your situation. I know that you might not be able to if you have a bad computer or poor internet connection, but try your best to get the highest frame rate and lowest ping that you can. And there are plenty of tutorials out there about these topics. Let's jump into actual 1.16 PvP. I'm going to start with the very basics, so you might already know some of this stuff. If you were to get one thing out of this video, it is that Minecraft 1.16 PvP is based on timed, accurate, strategic hits. You have to be smart about how and when to attack. Spamming click will do little to no damage to your opponent, so you must make sure that with each attack, you deliver as much damage as possible. How do you do this? First, make sure that you attack when the attack indicator is full or almost full. It's the little bar under your crosshair. You don't have to wait for it to fill completely because you still deal a decent amount of damage when it's around 80 to 90%. The attack indicator will start at 0 after every time you attack or after you switch to the weapon. As a quick demonstration, I'm on a server with my ult account right here, so I'm going to spam click for a bit and see how the hits barely do any damage, but if I wait for the cooldown bar and start to time my hits a bit more, I start to do way more. So you never want to spam click if you want to deal damage in 1.16. Next, we have another integral part of Minecraft 1.16 PvP, critical hits, or more commonly known as crits. These deal 50% more damage than normal attacks, and are performed if a player attacks while falling, such as coming down from a jump or falling off of a block. The attack indicator also has to be full, and you cannot be sprinting while performing a crit. A way to get around this if you are sprinting is to let go of W as you are falling, so you stop sprinting, attack, then quickly press W again. It's similar to W tapping, but don't get confused between the two. This only applies if you want to get a critical attack while you're in the middle of sprinting. If you're walking or not moving, you don't need to worry about letting go of W. You'll know when you get a crit when you hear this sound, and you see a bunch of particles coming off the other person. Keep in mind, I'm using Badlion client, which changes how particles work, so it might look different for you. Also, when another player gets a crit on you, it will make the exact same critical hit sound, so be sure not to get confused. A big part of 1.16 PvP is being able to get crits while attacking the other player. The attack indicator and crits are really the main building blocks of 1.16 PvP that everything else branches off of. Now let's talk about some of the weapons used. 1.16 PvP generally falls into two categories: sword PvP and axe and shield PvP, and we will cover both in this video. Let's get started with swords and their basic stats and mechanics. Swords deal 4 through 8 base damage a hit, with 4 being a wooden sword and 8 being a netherite sword. It takes 0.6 seconds for the attack indicator of the sword to fill up, which means you can deal a full damage attack every 0.6 seconds. After fighting with a sword for a while, you begin to know the rhythm at which you attack, so you don't have to look at the indicator at all. Another way of quantifying this in order to understand the timing better is that the attack timing of the sword falls perfectly into the rhythm of you jumping. That fact will be useful later with more advanced strategies. Next up, axe and shield PvP. In this type of PvP, swords are a lot harder to use, which is why we split the PvP into two different categories earlier. This is because swords just glance off of shields and do no damage. This is where axes come in. Axes deal 7 through 10 base damage a hit, with 7 being a wooden axe and 10 being a netherite axe. Notice that the axes deal more damage than swords, even the wooden one managing to deal 7. This does come with a drawback, however, because axes take almost twice as long for the attack indicator to fill up, with 1.25 seconds for a wooden axe and 1 second for a netherite axe. The main draw of axes is that they have the ability to disable shields, which is why they are better than swords in fights with shields. Attacking a raised shield with an axe disables the raised shield for 5 seconds. You also don't have to wait for the attack indicator to fill up or do a crit or anything to disable the shield. You can just spam click it if you want to disable it. Also, just because swords are harder to use in this type of PvP doesn't mean that they are completely useless, because swords do more damage per second than axes due to their high attack speed. I'll talk about their role in axe and shield PvP later. One more weapon that I should point out that comes in most 1.16 PvP kits is the crossbow, which is very straightforward and easy to use. You can load it up, and it will always be loaded until you fire it, even if you switch away from it in your inventory. That means you can load up your crossbow, switch to something else, and later in the fight quickly switch to your crossbow and fire. This is extremely useful in shield PvP, where you can disable someone's shield, move out of the reach, and get a quick crossbow shot in. Crossbows aren't that useful in sword PvP though, because you don't have as much time to reload. Now you've probably noticed I've only covered 2 kits, a sword kit and an axe kit, and this is because pretty much all other 1.16 PvP kits are extensions of these, and add things such as potions, golden apples, and crystals. All of these have their own individual strategies and mechanics, but if I covered those, the video would be way too long. Now let's get into some more in-depth techniques and strategies. The first one is fairly easy and obvious, which is strafing. Since 1.16 PvP is heavily reliant on timed accurate hits, strafing is extremely important, because if you can dodge an opponent's attack, they have to wait for their attack indicator cooldown before they can attack again. If you try to be as unpredictable as possible, your opponents may miss attacks, allowing you to get free hits in. Also, keep in mind that you don't always have to stick with the traditional strafing left and right. Strafing forwards and backwards can be important as well, because it can throw off the rhythm of someone getting crits on you. As an example, if you are running from someone and turn around, they will expect you to jump towards them, so they might time their jump to get a crit based on that. However, if you do a quick strafe backwards, they might land too early, preventing them from getting a crit on you. Next up is health management. You need to be aware of your opponent's health in relation to your own health at all times. Some servers display your opponent's health over their head while some don't. Either way, it's important to get a feel for how much health your opponent has. If you know for sure that your opponent has less health than you can just exchange hits until they hopefully die. If you know that you are lower on health than them, then you might want to play more defensive to get a few free hits in, to lower their health to a point where you can just safely exchange hits again. Fairly straightforward stuff. You can also play mind games with your opponent using these techniques. If you convince your opponent that you have more health than them by being more aggressive, they might run, giving you the chance to get some free hits. If you act like you are low on health when you actually have a lot, you might make your enemy act aggressive, lowering their defenses and allowing you to deal some damage. It's a strategy as old as time. The next technique is specific to sword PvP, which is sprint resetting. If you're from the 1.8 PvP community, you've probably heard this before. The mechanic of Minecraft is that you deal more knockback on the first attack after you begin sprinting than subsequent attacks. However, if you stop and start sprinting really quickly after every attack, you can deal this large amount of knockback from the first hit over and over again, making it easier for you to hit your opponent without them hitting you. Sprint resetting also reduces the amount of knockback that you take by a slight amount. Even though this mechanic might be more well known in 1.8, it still certainly does exist in 1.16, although it doesn't give you as much of a benefit as the older versions because of the lower attack speed. The best way I found to sprint reset in 1.16 is W tapping, where you quickly let go and press back down W after every time you attack, and again, it really only gives you a benefit in sword PvP. If you do end up using this technique, make sure that when you are going for a critical hit, you still use the technique I talked about earlier, where you let go of W to stop sprinting, attack, and then press W down again, or else you won't get the critical hit because you can't get crits while sprinting. If that's confusing, for normal attacks that you want to sprint reset on, attack, then quickly let go and press W again. If you're going for a critical hit, jump, let go of W, attack, and then press W again. Switching between these two different techniques can be a bit difficult because the timing is very similar, but you will get used to it. This next technique is also specific to sword PvP in 1.16, which is combos. Combos, to put it simply, are when you are getting consecutive hits on your opponent and they aren't getting hits on you. Combos are well known in the 1.8 community, and although they aren't as prevalent in 1.16, they still certainly exist to some extent, and mainly with swords. You can perform them by attacking your opponent while having a full attack indicator, and while your opponent is being knocked back from the blow, you wait for the attack indicator to fill up before repeating the process by hitting them again. This works better if the opponent is at the edge of your reach because it makes it more difficult for them to hit you back and break the combo. And you can also employ W tapping to knock them back even further, increasing the effectiveness of the combo. The second type of combo is the crit combo. Remember how the cooldown of the sword perfectly lines up with the amount of time it takes to jump? If you are jumping, you can attack your opponent every time you are falling down from the jump, thus making every attack a critical hit. These are more difficult to perform, however, because you cannot strafe very well while doing this, making it easier for your opponent to attack you and break the combo. Also, I'm going to mention this again, make sure you are not sprinting when you're going for these critical combos because you cannot get crits while sprinting. As a quick side note, if you remember from the beginning, I talked about how you can use swords in axe and shield PvP. Swords do more damage per second than axes due to their high attack speed, but shields block swords. If you quickly disable an opponent's shield with an axe, you can get a combo in with a sword before their shield comes back, and then repeat the process by disabling their shield. I don't really use this technique too often because you have to be really good at it to use it properly, but it's something that you should keep in mind. Those are the main strategies that require the most explanation. You may have noticed I haven't talked about axe and shield PvP as much, and this is because it's a lot simpler in terms of mechanics, but it requires a bit more strategy and thinking that's hard to convey just through me talking. And I'll go over more aspects of it when I'm doing the voiceover, which I'm going to do now. 3 YouTubers volunteered to duel me in both axe and sword PvP so I could critique the fight. They are Animagician, TedsAttic, and Celestialrain. Their links are all in the description. Very cool people, very good content, definitely check them out. Alright, we have now transitioned into the live voiceover part of this video, so I don't have a script or anything, I'm just going to watch the video and tell you what I'm doing and tell you my thoughts and actions, so just bear with me if I screw some things up. Again, I don't have a script or anything. So the first person I'm fighting right here is TedsAttic, and I'm fighting with an axe and shield kit. The thing with this kit is there's generally a lot of dancing around at the beginning, trying to see who's going to make the first move, and Ted right there ends up making the first move. So what he did was shoot me with his crossbow and then went and disabled my shield with his axe. So those did no damage to me because of my shield, it just tanked it all. And I ended up getting a hit on him as he was doing that. So right now I know I have a small health advantage over him because I got a hit on him and he didn't get a hit on me. So that health advantage just got even bigger because I got a bunch of crits on him and I got a crossbow shot in. So right now I would be comfortable just trading crits until he dies. And also that crossbow shot, it's super important to get crossbow shots in like that. I see a lot of new players in axe and shield PvP, conserving their crossbow, waiting to get the best shot. Just go for it, because one crossbow shot can upset the balance in a tight game. And also, it's super easy to get quick crossbow shots in like that. You just kind of have to catch them off guard, like disabling their shield and getting a quick shot in that way, or while they're running, while they're turning around. It's just free damage, and you just really have to take advantage of that. And that's exactly what I did right there. I noticed he was kind of turning around, he wasn't prepared, he didn't have his shield up, and I was able to get that crossbow in. Reading body language is super important in PvP, especially axe and shield PvP. So right there, I noticed he was loading his crossbow and turning around, so I immediately blocked my shield and ended up blocking the crossbow bolt that he just fired. So be sure to always read what your enemy is doing. Always see what they have in their hands, always see where their camera is positioned. Little details like that can end up saving you from getting hit, and it can also allow you to get some hits in. So I'm playing a bit more defensively than I need to right now. As I said earlier, I would have been fine just trading hits until he dies, but I'm playing a lot of these games a bit more defensively than I need to, just to give you a better idea of what's going on. So here's a little detail that's not just important for axe and shield PvP, but it's also important for sword PvP as well. So if you noticed, I hit him even though I didn't have a full attack indicator after I disabled his shield. And the reason I did this is I knocked him into a position that's better for me to get a crit on him. If he continued the way he was going, he would have been at a really awkward angle for me to hit him at. But I knocked him into a place where I could just jump forward and get a crit on him. And I ended up doing just that and win the game. So in the second round, again, there's a lot of dancing around in the beginning, trying to figure out who's going to make the first move. So I ended up making the first move, and it was a mistake, because I thought he was going to jump and try to get an axe crit on me and lower his shield while he was doing that. So I tried to get a crit on him, but he ended up not lowering his shield whatsoever, and I just disabled it. But luckily for me, when he was going to get a crit on me, I still had my shield up, so he just disabled it, and I was able to get a crit on him. And I followed that up with a bunch of nasty crits, and I also get a crossbow shot right there. And while he's reloading his crossbow, I get 2 more crits and ended up winning the game, losing no HP. So the third and final battle with this kit is pretty similar to the first two. I do a bit of strafing in the beginning and actually end up dodging one of his crossbow bolts, which is pretty cool. I get a hit on him and immediately jump away. The reason I do this is because a lot of the time, right after you get a hit on someone and you're close to them, they'll often try to go for a crit on you. So I jump out of the way a lot of the time just to get out of their reach so they can't get a crit on me. So you can see right there, he was jumping, so he could have gotten a crit on me if I hadn't have dodged out of his reach. And I end up getting a hit on him as he ends up going for another critical on me. So we get a few hits on each other, he disables my shield, and I turn around and get a crossbow shot on him. Now I do this for two reasons. Number one, which is the obvious reason, is to deal some damage on him. Number two is he had some forward momentum on me, and you never want someone to have forward momentum on you. So I do that to knock him back a bit, stop his forward momentum, and also knock him into a place where I can jump forward and get a crit on him. And I end up doing just that, and I get a bunch of crits on him and win the game. So now me and Ted have switched over to a sword PvP kit. Sword PvP in 1.16 is a lot more fast-paced and quick than axe and shield PvP, so I personally enjoy swords more. There's also an axe in this kit for some reason. There's really no point in using it. Swords do more damage per second, and there's no shields present at all. So right at the beginning, I know I'm at a pretty big health advantage. I'm getting a lot of hits on him that he isn't getting on me. I'm strafing, I'm avoiding a lot of his attacks. And then I'm pretty confused on why I decided to do this. I eat a gapple while he's right next to me, and while I have 7.5 hearts. I don't know. I don't know why. This is a bad idea. Don't do this. If you're gonna eat a gapple, make sure you're at least decently low, or your opponent isn't very close to you. He ends up getting some hits on me because of that, but since I had the regeneration from the gapple, I just got the health back. But I get a couple more hits on him, and then I put him into a crit combo, which is where I'm jumping, and every time I come down from the jump, I'm getting a critical hit with a sword. And that eats through your health super quickly. My mouse randomly just disconnected there, by the way, if you're wondering. In sword PvP, a good time to get somebody in a crit combo is to do it while they're eating a gapple, for a lot of reasons. Number one, they're pretty low if they're eating a gapple, unless you're me in the beginning of the fight, which means that maybe you can kill them before they get the gapple off. Also, they're just basically standing still, so they're not moving, and you can just get a bunch of free hits on them. You don't have to aim. I eat a gapple here, which makes a bit more sense because I know that I'm able to consistently get more hits than him. So if I just eat a gapple whenever he eats a gapple, I'll end up killing him first. Alright, I'm going to skip the rest of this fight. There's 5 gapples, so it takes a while, and pretty much all the information that you needed to know was in the beginning of this fight. So let's move on to Animagician. Now we're on to the fight with Animagician. We're using an axe and shield kit, and the thing with Annie is that he was streaming, and he had pretty bad ping to begin with. So just overall, he did not have a fun time. We can still see how this goes. So right here, the knockback was super delayed, and I was able to get a bunch of crits on him right here and win the first round. Having high ping sucks in 1.16 PvP, both for the person who has the high ping and the person who's fighting the person with the high ping. And the reason for that is 1.16 PvP, it's all about being accurate with your hits. And it's hard to be accurate when you're lagging and when your opponent is lagging. As you can see right there, again, I saw that he was loading his crossbow, so I immediately brought up my shield. Again, being aware of your opponent's body language, what they're doing, super important. And I ended up shooting him right there with the crossbow and winning the game. I knew he was pretty low, so I figured a crossbow shot, if he was low, might kill him, and it ended up killing him, so I won that round. Alright, going into the third round, we trade hits for a little bit. I end up getting a bunch of crits on him, and he ends up running away, and I go for a crossbow shot, and I end up killing him with the crossbow shot. Alright, now we've swapped over to a sword kit. We trade hits, he runs, he reconsiders for a second, you know, maybe I'll attack, nope, he just runs. A bit more running. Actually, I lied, there's a lot more running. He tries to get a gapple off, but I end up getting a bunch of crits on him and killing him. I'm sure Annie would have absolutely just destroyed me if he had good ping, but, you know, he didn't have good ping, so I was able to just barely get the win right here. I'm only joking. Good fight. Alright, so the last YouTuber I fought was Celestialrain, and I'm just going to call her Dakota because it feels weird calling her Celestialrain because I know her. Anyway, we started off with an axe and shield kit, just like the other 2 fights. So let's just get started. So she actually played this whole thing very defensively, which is kind of what you're supposed to do in axe and shield PvP. We're trading hits in the beginning right here. Although she's just getting normal hits on me and I'm just getting crits. So I know I'm at a pretty decent health advantage. My crossbow didn't load there. So again, whenever she has her shield, she always uses it, which is a very good thing to do, especially in shield PvP. She noticed I was loading my crossbow just there because it wasn't loaded, and I loaded it and turned around, so she saw that I was trying to do that and blocked her shield, which is very good, but I ended up just disabling her shield and going for a crossbow shot there, and won the first game. Alright, so now we're on a sword kit right now. She actually ends up getting the first hit on me right here. And we're kind of trading hits. What a lot of people do with sword PvP is they act like it's axe PvP, but quicker. So they'll jump every time they try to go for a hit. They'll like back up and then jump at you, hit you with the sword, and then back up. That's not really what you want to do with sword PvP. Sword PvP, you just want to get one hit after the other and try to get as many hits as possible. You don't want to like jump at the person, get a hit, and then run away. I mean, the sword has a faster attack speed for a reason. The one benefit of doing that, though, is she's making it a lot harder for me to get combos on her because she's giving me a lot of knockback, which makes the first part of the battle pretty even. And we're trading hits here, but I'm getting more crits on her, and she's just getting normal hits on me. I eat a gapple. Good idea, considering I'm pretty low. I know she's even lower than I am because she's not letting me get anywhere near her while she's eating the gapple. Alright, right here, I get a bunch of crits on her. And she tries to go for the gapple, but it was too late. Alright, that's all I had for this video. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you get better at 1.16 PvP. If you have questions about anything, put them in the comments or at me on Twitter. I'll try the best I can to answer them. Also, this video took a lot of effort. It's really the first major video on my channel, so if you could subscribe, like, watch the video and repeat for more views and watch time, that would all be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.